Good evening, everybody. You're here with your host, Mateo Olmo. I don't know why I said good evening. It's good afternoon. It's 1:15 p.m., Tuesday, May 30th. But you're here with your host, Mateo Olmos, Young Mo, on 10 Minutes with Teo. And I just want to say thank you guys for continuing to listen, continuing to support, continuing to like, subscribe, share, leave encouraging comments, and just be a part of my journey, man, and let me be a part of yours. It's been a little while since I've posted an episode. That is due to multiple reasons. One is because I'm very busy. Two is because I've been having technical, excuse me, allergies killing me. Technical difficulties with the application I've been using, audio and video just not syncing up, and I also bought another mic to be able to interview other people and have both audios, but I also been having some issues with that. So I recorded an episode with Skylar Groat. She's a woman wrestler who trains here at Oregon State at the Beaver Dam RTC, and she's a very accomplished wrestler, very amazing person, and it was a great interview. We did 30 minutes because I decided to make a rule that if I have another person on here, I'll give them upwards of 30 minutes with Teo because I want to hear their story out of respect for them. And 10 minutes is just simply not enough to get into it. So 30 minutes we recorded, and just it hasn't been working out on my computer. So, but we're here, we're back, and I want to continue to put out content. I want to continue to be open, continue to be vulnerable, and talk about what's been on my mind and on my heart. And I wanted to take some time today to do that. It is Tuesday, May 30th, the day after Memorial Day. Take a moment to reflect on and pay respect to those who have lost their lives in war, whether that's in this country or anywhere in the world. Wars that should have never been fought, wars that are essentially senseless violence used by governments to try and gain power, monetary wealth, or just wreak havoc, man. And, you know, political figures and governments that use young men and women for their political gain. It's very unfortunate. So I want to pay respect to those who have lost their lives in war today. So rest in peace to those people. Today is May 30th, and it is Mental Health Month. May is Mental Health Month, is what I'm finding out. And so I haven't really taken the time to reflect on this, talk about it, post anything about it, because it wasn't something that I guess I was really thinking about too much. I'm always thinking about mental health. Obviously, a lot of people struggle with it. It's been a topic that is discussed heavily nowadays, and I have not only had my own mental health struggles, but I lost my father due to suicide. That being said, I was listening to a podcast the other day on Pivot Podcast. They had New York Jets. I believe he's a linebacker. Not sure what position he plays, but very good player, Solomon Thomas. And he shared his story about not only his own struggle with mental health, but also losing his sister to suicide. And it was a episode that I just came upon. I think it was one of their latest episodes, and I was just in the car listening, and it really struck a chord in me. I'm really appreciative of him for sharing his story and being able to talk about such. I mean, I don't know what the word is, man, but things that are not easy to talk about, and it just made me not feel alone. It helped me to hear a black man, a professional athlete, a you know someone who's striving, someone who's working towards his goals, and you know living out his purpose in life. It's amazing to hear somebody like that, speak about their struggles, and so I'm really appreciative. But I lost my father to suicide. He struggled with mental health, specifically insomnia and anxiety and depression. It's something I also struggle with daily. I have always struggled with it, but I wasn't really aware of what it was. I remember even as a middle schooler, as a young high school student, struggling to sleep, feeling anxious, having thoughts in my mind that I felt scared of or I didn't understand, and not knowing anything really about mental health or any of that. I remember being 13 years old and my dad, struggling with insomnia and saying, like, I'm not sure if I'm going to live much longer. And the lack of sleep would kill him in the terms of like he'd get sick or he'd just die. And I didn't understand like he meant suicide. And it wasn't until he passed away that we found notebooks of his suicide notes from 2013. And I was blown away by the fact that he had been fighting so long and that it all came together in the sense of that's what he meant back then that day. And I'll never forget sitting there listening to him say that and crying. And eventually the lack of sleep did end up killing him. Mental illness is real. It is the same as cancer, it is the same as heart disease, it is the same as, I mean, you name it. And I don't say that in the sense of obviously biologically cancer is horrible, enters your body, takes over your cells, whatever, causes your body to turn against you, kills you. And you watch somebody physically deteriorate, maybe not with the mental aspect of, you know, not going crazy but you know what I mean. But it is a disease nonetheless. And the fact that you can deteriorate to the point where you take yourself out. And if that is not as serious as it gets, then I don't know what is. And since my dad has passed, um, it's crazy because like I haven't even gotten therapy or I haven't even, I guess, I'm thinking of like a mental doctor or like a mental hospital, but we think of like mental hospitals like, oh, you're crazy, like you're psycho, like you're a psychopath. And that stereotype or that stigma in and of itself is so dangerous because we go to the doctors for checkups and we go to when we're a kid we go to the pediatrician and when we're older we go for checkups, we go for screenings, we go for this, that, and the other. And to think like mentally, where are we having our checkups, you know what I mean, or how am I getting help or making sure that I'm okay. And since my father's passed, obviously I've had an increase in my anxiety and I wouldn't say depression. I feel like I'm pretty motivated. It's not super hard for me to get out of bed and things like that, but definitely the feeling of not understanding, the feeling of fear, the feeling of anxiety, the weight on my chest that I constantly feel. Like before working out, I didn't feel these things. Even during season, I had lost my father and I was in a different mindset of I have this outlet of wrestling, every day to strive towards and to get my emotions out and this, that, and the other. But since season has ended, I feel this constant pressure on my chest. I feel the constant stress of like, I'm gonna die soon. I'm gonna die soon. Something else is gonna happen. Who else am I gonna lose? What's gonna happen? What happens after death? What is real? Is God real? Like just these thoughts that constantly flood my mind. And it can be scary, it can be tough. And I remember before Pac-12s, I didn't sleep for 4 days. And I didn't sleep for 4 days and I felt like I was going crazy and I felt like I was losing my mind and I really wanted to die at that moment. Like I would do anything to get some rest. Like literally, this is not a joke. This is a true story. And in that moment, I sympathized with my dad. This is exactly how he felt because my dad wrote journals of his life, and my dad would tell us, like, I haven't slept in a month. I haven't slept for months, and I knew I know, like, just those 4 days, if they could make me feel that way, like I was losing my mind, like, I couldn't imagine months. I couldn't imagine a month. I couldn't imagine years, and so, reading those notes in 2013, like, my dad was fighting for all that time for us and for himself, and it came to a point where the lack of sleep really does deteriorate your brain, and so, what does that say about mental health? What does that say about us? What have I learned? And the first thing I've analyzed is like the the aspect of being a man. 80% of suicides are men. Men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide. I've known 7, maybe 8 suicides in my life. Um, Chris Villanueva, I mean, Mark Crampton, my best friend's father, Brad Nettles, my own dad, Daniel Kennard, friend from church, close friend. All suicides that I've had in my life, all were men, and trying to understand why. And obviously, it's not all men. Solomon Thomas lost his sister. I don't know any women in my life who have committed suicide, but I know, I mean, it happens. And understanding why this is becoming more and more of an issue. And it's not for me to like throw out like, oh, call this hotline or get some help or see a therapist because I'm no expert. But I've just been trying to do my part to understand why and how I can prevent myself from going that deep because I can see it. It's like I can see the deep end. It's like, "Oh, I understand like how this can take over. I understand how I can drown. Like I've seen it. I've swam in it, but I got out the pool." You know what I mean? And I see those people at the bottom, and it's like not to say like they failed or because it's tragic, like, I wish more than anything that all those people were alive, and that's the thing, is like, it's at your own hand, and that's the scariest part, but I understand how serious it is and how, I could very well be down there someday or could have been, you know what I mean? And so just trying to understand mental health as a whole, and it's such a complex thing. You can never enter somebody's mind. You can never know behind closed doors at night when somebody's trying to sleep. You could be sleeping next to somebody, your husband or wife, and you don't know what's going on in their mind. And so I spoke at the Out of Darkness walk. It was for suicide prevention and suicide stories and this that, and the other. It was on campus at Oregon State. And I talked about my dad's story and I shared a little excerpt, this, that, and the other. And I had so many people coming up to me giving me hugs, crying in my arms, telling me their stories. I lost my father, or I lost my son, I lost my brother, I lost my friend. Um, and one lady said she just lost her son. He was a doctor. He had a pregnant wife or a fiance or whatever it was, and he committed suicide a month ago. And I was just taken back by the fact that you can have all these things. You can be married or engaged to a beautiful woman who's pregnant with your child, and you could be a doctor. You could have all this money. You could have come from a great family. Obviously, this guy's mother, loved him and cared about him. And I don't know his whole story, but the things she was saying about him and what he had in his life are things that, everybody, would want in a sense, you know, a career, a job, a partner, and an offspring, a child, and yet this man felt the need to take his own life. And so it's like, how can I prevent myself and others from feeling this way and giving? And I just realized we just had another suicide, Wyatt Wallish. I hope I said his last name correctly. He's from my hometown. Rest in peace. Another man. And wow. So I've been, not to get too deep in thought because I'm just thinking now, but I've been trying to shift my focus of my purpose, because I too have done so many things. I got a full ride scholarship to come to Oregon State, wrestle Division 1, and wrestle all over the country, travel the country, be a part of organizations on this school like the Black Student Union, the NAACP. I got to go to Washington D.C. for the March on Washington. I got to have a job on campus. I got paid to go to school, and I got a stipend every month. Like, life was good, man. Life is good. We won a Pac-12 title. I won a Pac-12 title. Life is good, man. Life has been great. And yet, at the end of all this, I still find myself feeling worthless. I still find my efforts feeling worthless. Why do they matter? What was the point of all this? Why did I do all this? And also looking back on my failures of the things I did in college, and the mistakes and the hearts I broke and the times I messed up. And I could have been a better wrestler. I could have been a 2-time. I could have been a 3-time. I could have done this. I could have been a national, whatever the heck. Like, you know what I mean? And so, still feeling like it's not enough. And that's the thing I've been coming to realize: it's never going to be enough in terms of the trophies, the accomplishments, the money, the fame. None of that's enough. And the more I continue to read my Bible, and I was reading Ecclesiastes, talking of Solomon, one of the richest men to ever live, the wisest man to ever live, talking about how everything is meaningless. And I don't say that to like tear people down, because in my head, I was just kind of tearing me down, like, dang, everything's meaningless. But he does say to follow God and to have purpose in that, and to fulfill your vow to him is where you find meaning in life. And I understand not everybody who listens to this is religious. I'm not even gonna say religious, is spiritual, maybe has faith or believes. Not everyone's Christian. But to understand, like, what I've been seeking in my heart and coming to understand is like following your spirit and faith, and loving one another and loving yourself is all things, all that matters in this life. No money, no houses, no cars, no amount of partners, no amount of anything you can ever take with you. And so, as we continue to feel like that's our standard, or that's what we're searching for, like, my dad was always stressing about money, 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 taking care of the family, being this and that. And like, you neglect yourself in that. You neglect the greater purpose, which is to love, man. And that is the most valuable thing. And I understand it's a lot deeper. This conversation could go on for hours about, the history of the world and how we've been programmed in a sense, and how society makes us believe these things, and misogyny and men in general, and men and women relationships, whatever. But to say, like, I've been trying to seek things that serve my spirit and serve those around me. And that makes me feel not only not alone, but loved, and feel like that's worthwhile, because the spirit is eternal. And the greater good of humanity, whatever you leave behind, that's all you can. Sorry, allergies. That's all you can, I guess, take with you, is that time you spent on earth. That time, this time right now is ours, and what you do with it. And to end off, I say some things that I do to take care of my mental health, although I haven't seen a professional, so to speak. I just try to do things that serve me. It could have been very easy for me to crumble and fall under vices. And in a way, some ways, we all have a vice, or we all have vices, even if it's something really small. It's like social media, something I struggle with, being on my phone, distracting myself. Um, I try to do things that serve me. First, my body, my physical health, what I eat, what I'm putting into my body, and how I'm caring about my body, my exercise, continuing to train daily, continuing to, my collegiate career is over, but continuing to strive for the next thing. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And having that be a virtue in my life, and using that to connect to others. How can I help you with your health? How can I, how can we train together? How can we connect on this and use our bodies, and use our bodies as the temple that God made them to be. The body is a temple, and I used to take that for granted. The body is a real temple. How does your temple feel? How does your temple look? What kind of energy is inside? Um, Second is like what I'm putting in my mind, what I'm looking at, what I'm listening to. It's been very hard because I love all kinds of music. I love old school, classical, jazz, even country. But sometimes, I listen to some trap music and this, that, and the other, and it's talking about things that are negative or violent or things that aren't good for the mind and the heart. And so trying to monitor that. What am I putting in my mind, in my ears, in my eyes? What am I seeing on my screen? Like those things matter. And then how am I guiding my spirit? What am I allowing to guide my spirit? Like as if it was a compass, like in Pirates of the Caribbean. Where's my spirit going? What is my sense of direction? What am I trying to gain out of life every day? And what is my ultimate goal? And really being able to just sit sometimes and be silent and just meditate and just be silent, man. Just literally close my eyes and just be quiet in a dark room and just be with my thoughts. And sometimes I find them running to negative things, and a lot of times I'm able to just be at peace and be in the moment and just be silent and just accept what is, and also doing that with others too. I think connecting with others is one of the biggest things, being open and having these dialogues and talking about, being our own doctors in a sense, and being our own therapists, and the fact that you can allow someone to be open with you and have that space and you be open with them in the deepest level and not judge them and have empathy and sympathy. And you don't need to pay a therapist to do that. Obviously they'll have more professional help for you and guidance, but we do live in an age where you can go on YouTube and look up, meditation, and look up, breathing techniques, and look up how to guide yourself in a sense. But it's always amazing to bring someone along with you and do it with others. And one thing I wish, my dad, he was an amazing guy, very romantic in the sense that he loved music and art and film, and he was very intelligent, and he had, everything, charming and all. But I just wish he would have been a little more open. I wish we could have had these conversations on the deepest level, and I could have been there as a son to just listen and just, not that we didn't have them, but even more so to the point where, I feel like it would have benefited him so he could still be here with us today. But I hope in the month of May you've done some reflecting, you've done some seeking, and I know this is way over 10 minutes with Teo, but this is 20 whatever minutes with Teo, and I don't really care at this point. I just wanna I just wanted to come on here and vent, honestly. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for listening. Have a great rest of your day. And June's coming up, so let's enjoy the summer. And hopefully I'll be back here with you guys soon. Thank you. Peace.